Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see about Sodar Varlaru. Saivam and Vainavam had its own impact during the later Sodar reign, and the very important kings were Sibi Chakravarti, Manunidhi Shodan and Karikar Peruvalathan, and they ruled the place called Kaverimhumpattinam. And after Pumbugar went under the ocean, they made Urayur as the capital. Urayur is also called as Urandai and Kodiyur, and Kalaprargal and Pallavargal, they were very powerful at that time, and therefore Sodargal, they had a very good relationship with Pallavargal, and for 600 years they were only as small kings like Citrarasu, and it was during the reign of Vijayalaya Sodan they came back into power, and after him we have Rasa Rasan and Rasendran, who ruled the whole of South India, Sri Lanka and Gadara Islands, and they were a great emperors in their time, and that time they all also supported religious people, and also their culture and the way of governance is to be taken into account to know that how their rule was in South India. First we have Visalaya Sodan. At that time, Muttayarargal were very powerful in politics and they were ruling Tanjai. And Sodar had Padayare as the capital at that time, and to Pallavas they were below them, and they were giving them kappam or thirai, that is money to maintain their kingdom. And these Muttayas were changing their support from one person to another. And at one time when Pallavas and Varagoda Pandian had fight, Muttayas they supported Pandian and Visalayan supported Pallavan. And in that war, it was because of Visalayan even the Pallavas won the war. And because of Muttayaran, this Tanjai came into, because Muttayan they had a fall, Tanjai came into the hands of Sodar. And Varakura Pandian, again he attacked the Pallavas. At this time Kangargal and Sodargal were along with the Pallavas, and they defeated the Pandya. But in that war Visalayan died, and after him came his son Aditya Sodan, and Mudalam Adityan, he became the king, and he was very good in ruling governance and also in warfare. And the Pallavas and Pandyas, they had a war in Tirupurabayam, and because Abaranjan he won in that, he wanted to share his lands with others. And who all were with him is Prithvi Gangan, who died in the war, and Adityan Pallavan, Adityan was there, so Pallavan appreciated Visalayan, and from Muttarayar they got some places. And along with that he also gave some places as a gift to him, and this made Adityan very strong. And after that he had a lot of fights, and in that he won, and he made his kingdom very great. And along with the Sodar, Gangargal also helped him, and in his time alone in Kaveri Karai he built 50 Siva Katraligal. And Mudalam Parantagan, that is first Parantagan, after Aditya Sodan, his son Mudalam Parantagan, he became the king, and in his rule Sodar kingdom ruled in the north till Kalahasti, and in south till Kaveri Karai, Kanyakumari. And they won Pandyan in the war, and they captured Madurai. And Pandyan Rasasimhan, he ran away to Sri Lanka, Ilangai. And Parandangan went to north, and from there also he had a lot of trouble, because from north Rashtrakudargal and Kangargal, and in south Pandyargal, they were always attacking him, and therefore he was always in war. And Parandanga Sodan soon grew his empire. In 50 years it became a large empire, and because of his Vempur Takudal, many kings had to leave the kingdom and run, but they were waiting for a chance to take revenge on him. And these kings will come near the borders of Soda Empire, and they will capture the capitals and go, and they will rob in those places. And at that time what happened is always enemies were attacking him, but anyway Parandagan was very careful, and this also kept on going for some time. And his first son Rasadityan, in his lead, in Takkolathil they had a war, and in that war Rasadityan died, and Sodargal they lost the war, but they were only still very powerful. And in his rule, they made many facilities for agriculture development. And he also gave Raniya Karupam, Tulabharam, all that many. And for Brahmins, they gave a lot of donations. And in Thillai Ambalam, they gave gold. And like his father itself, Adityan itself, Parandagan also built many Shiva temples. Then we have Kandaradityan. Parandagan, after him, Kandaradityan came into power, and that is a time when we have Sembiyan Mahadevi, who is very famous, and she built many temples, and she and her husband, they did a lot for Saiva religion to develop, and Kandaradityan has sung Thottira Padalgal, which are still in Saiva Tirumurai, and during his reign, the Sola Perarasa started becoming less, was diminishing. Then we have Sundara Sodan. After Kandaradityan, we have his brother Arinjayan, who came as the king, and he ruled for 2 years. And after him, we have his son Parandagan Sundara Sodan, who became the king. And till then, this Veerapandyas were saying that they have won Kandaradityan. So he went and he fought against them. And his first son Karigalan, along with him, he went and he fought with Veerapandiyan in Sevur battlefield. And there we find that Irandam Adityan, that is Karigalan, his warfare was shown so very well. And Pandian had to run to Ilangai to save himself. And in this, after this war, he was given the title Pandiyanan Mudikonda Sodan. This title was given to Karigalan. Then afterwards, inside Sodarkulam itself, there is a lot of civil war which was going on. And Karigalan died because of this. And even Sundara Sodan died in his golden palace in Kanjipuram. And because of that itself, he was given the title Pon Malige Tunjiya Devan. And because of all these internal wars, Kandaradityan's son Uttama Sodan, he came into power, and during his rule there was a lot of confusion among the people. And after him came the first Rasarasan, and first Rasarasan is said to be the best among all the Soda kings, and he was Sundara Sodan's younger son. And during his time, Soda's reign became so very great. And in his time and in his son Rasendran's time, Tamil people's culture and all the trading went so very well that they went even abroad and they did trading, and people loved that rule. And Rashtrakutargal, because they had always been fighting with them, this time Solanadu, they won over them and they made their kingdom very great. And all this credit goes to first Rasarasan. And after he became the king, he started attacking the nearby places and joining them in his empire. And for this, he took up the Tikvisayam. Tikvisayam is challenging to the other kings whether to surrender or to fight with them. And this started with Tiruvalangadu, and this started with Tenpandi Nadu, and all this information we get from the Seppedigal, which is in Tiruvalangadu. And Solanadu, as soon as Rasarasan became the king of Solanadu, he started having many titles like Rasa Kesari, Arunmodi, Mumudi Sodan, and all these titles were joined in his name. And during his rule, Kandaralu Sale was ruled very well. And he had his intention in attacking Pandya Nadu, and therefore they attacked Madurai, and they captured it. Pandyan Amara Pujangan, he was defeated, and their main intention was to even keep Serargal under control. And they wanted to make Pandyar powerless, and therefore in Kudainadu, he built a big palace big fort called as Kudamalai and Udakai. And this Kudanat place was under the head of Rasarasan's Magan, Rasendran. And till today we speak about the temple which he built in Tanjavur called as Audiyar temple. And according to religion also, they have given a lot of kattalai, and even today they are all there to tell about the religious feelings. Then we have Rasendra Solan. After Kudanadu victory, Rasarasan and his son, they brought many victories, and and because of his son bringing lots of victories, he appreciated him, and he made him the head for Venki Mandalam and Ganga Mandalam, and also for Magadha Nayagan. And title Panjavan Marayan title was given to him. And after Rasan, he only became the king after him. And then afterwards his son Rasarasan became the prince. And Ilangai, Sumitra Islands and Gadaram, all these lands were captured by these people, and they were the strongest powerful empire in South India. And Rasendran attacked North India also, and this became very popular. And even in North India, he defeated many kings, and it is said that Ghazni Muhammad was facing defeat because of him only. And though many people were crossing a lot of problem during his rule, he was able to keep them under control. And not only in war, in education, in arts, and also in religion, he was very great. And he only built the great Kalaikudam in Gangaikonda Solapuram, which was also his capital, and he did a lot for the development of all the arts. And Rasendran, he was very good in ruling the country. You can say he was even better than his father Rasarasan. And Gangai Kondan, Kadaram Kondan, Panditoran, all these are titles given to him. And after Rasendran became the Soda king, they became very popular. And Rasendran, after him, his son, his first son Rasadi Rasan became the king. And after him, his second son, second Rasendran, also became the king. And during their time only, Soda kingdom started losing its power. From North Salukya Mannargal, they were always attacking them. And after he became the king, Veera Rasendran, he went to Venki and he defeated the Salukya army. And in Venki also he started ruling very nicely. And then he came back to Gangaikonda Solapuram. And again in Ceylon there was a civil war. He went there and he brought it under control. He himself went across the seas and he captured Gadaram. And that Gadaram, he made one of his friends as the king. And he also had lots of titles along with his name. And after him, his Magan Adi Rasendran became the king. And after this, we find that Vijayalaya Cholan's direct ascending of the throne had ended. Then we have Salukya Solargal. These people come from his mother's side, who are called as Salukya Solargal. We have Adi Rasendran. They had a lot of opposition when he became the king. And these people, some people wanted to become the king. And we have Mudal Kulothugan, Parandagan, Rasarasan, Rasendran. In their line, we can say a very good king was first Kulothugan. And he is the great grand son of Rasarasan. And in north, he attacked Kalingam and he won the war. And his Padai Talabi was Karnagara Tondaiman. And Kulothugan's victory on Kalingam was sung by Jayakondar as Kalingathu Bharani. And his time only, we find lots of people doing a lot of problem in that place, but that all he was able to control very efficiently. He also had a lot of titles along with his name, such as Rasakesari, Parakesari, Bhuvanake Chakravarti, Vishnuvardhan, Parandangan, Perumanadigal, Vikrama Sodan, Kulasekara Pandya Kulothugan. All these are titles given to him. This information we get from Kalvettugal. And we also find a Kalvettu saying Sungam Tavirtha Solan, but we do not know what tax he avoided. And after him, his son Vikrama Solan, and after him, his second son Kulothugan also became the kings. And from that time we find a lot of changes by Salukya, because Salukyas were becoming very powerful and there was a lot of confusion in this stage. And at that time only Ceylon also went out of the Sodar's hands. And even though that did not cause much problem to him, they were always looking at these Pandyas and Seras, because they knew they had to keep a spy on them. And after that came Irandam Rajarasan. In his time only the central rule and also the other state rules all became very weak. And after him came Irandam Rajarasan. He became the king, and at that time only in Madurai we have a civil war. And because of that, Parakrama Pandian's son Veerava Pandian, he became the king. And along with Singalargal and Pandyargal, Sodargal had to fight a lot, and because of that there were a lot of problems. And then came Moonram Kulottugan. He was all the kings who were giving him Thirai, that is Kappam, they became very strong. And Telugu Sodargal, Panargal, Samburayargal, Gadavargal, Malayamangal, Adiyamangal, all these small kings all started becoming powerful, and Sodar empire started becoming weak. And Tanjai Peruvadiyar temple, like that itself in Gangaikonda Sodapuram, like that. Moonram Kulottukan also in Kumbakonam had built a beautiful temple in Tirubhuvanam. It is a Shiva temple. And after him came third Rasarasan, and during his time Soda empire became very weak. And they had a agreement with Pandyargal, but because they did not follow it, Pandyas became very strong. And all the small kings who were below them, they all joined together and they fought with Sodanadu, and Sodanadu split into small land. And afterwards came Moonram Rasendran. He lost Sodam to Pandyas, and after that we do not find Soda empire as a great empire. And after that we find that Pandyas became very strong. And when we see the social society during Sodar time, we find that they were very strong in their army, and even ships they had a lot, and therefore the navy also was very strong. And for everything the king only was the head. He had elephants, he had horses, they all were the highlights, and even the soldiers were very strong. And it was during his time we have the Valakai Idakai fights. Valakai and Ilakai is a group between the Brahmins, and Urachigal, Grama Sabaigal, Chitra Meregal all were governing very well, because they followed the principles which were laid by the ancestors, and they were scared of doing any evil to the people, and they did their work very nicely. And Brahmanas were held in very high order, and they were given Akrakaram, Agaram, Saturvedi Mangalam, Pramaya Devam, and they were given lots of donations. Not only that, they were exempted from many taxes, and even temples were handed over to the Brahmins to taken care of. And Valankai Idakai Posal is during Sodar time, there were a lot of caste differences, and that only is Valakai and Idakai. This is a division between the Brahmins, and they were always fighting. The fight which started even before the Sodar age extended till the 20th century, and it came to an end only till the British people were ruling us. And in fact there were so many fights that even led to lots of loss of life and bloodshed. And during their time we find that the sati, that is the women being burnt along with their husband after their death, was also in practice. And we have Sirisemappu Muregal for small children and women. All these information are given in Kalvettugal, and these people also did a lot of service to the temple. And they were the ones who were cleaning the temple, making gardens for the god, and singing Devaram and Tiruvasagam, and also dancing. And all this they performed as a service to the religion. And they also performed Santi Kuttu, Arya Kuttu, Sake Kuttu, Tamil Kuttu. All these were staged there. And they also built very high buildings, Valamanaigal, Madakovilgal, and a lot of Katralaigal. And in the temples we find in the Vidhanangal all the paintings, and the paintings in Tanjai Audiyar temple and Gangaikonda Soliswaram talks about Sodar's time, Kattidam and Ovia Kalaigal. And about religion, in their time, Saivam and Vainavam both were the great religions at that time. And though the Soras were Saivam, they did not hate Vainavam. They allowed them also to survive. And in Saivam, we have Saktar, Kalamugar, Shanmugar. They were different classifications like that. And they were doing service to the religion. And Saiva Sintatham and Visitathvam also were two great Kotpadigal, which was at that time. And Saiva Vainava temples, their structures also helped the development of the religion. And in order to attract people, they did a lot of lots of service. And at that time only we have even Samana Buddha Vikarangal, that is even Buddhism had come there. For that also we have a lot of information given to us. And we have also Palli Sandangal which were there, that is donation to run schools. And when we see about literature, we find that lots of literature were there, and the main poets were Ottakuthar, Kambar, Pugadendi and Sekidar. It is also said that Ottakuthar and Kambar were during the same time, and they've had a competition between them. And Ottakuthar has written Moovarulla, Takkaya Bharani, Kulothagan Pillai Tamil, E.T. Edupadu, Arumbai Thollayiram, and he has also written Uttaragandam in Ramayanam. And Kambar has written Thirukkai Vazhakam, Yer Edupadu, Silai Edupadu, Saraswati Andadi, Sadagopar Andadi, Kambarayamanam. And Kambar's son Ambikabadi has written Ambikabadi Kovai. And along with that, we have lot of Sitrilakiya Kovai Nulgal. And Muthalam Kulothugan time only, we have Zayakondar who sang Kalingathu Parani, Nalavenba